Believe it or not, Canadian Thanksgiving, known in Canada as, well, Thanksgiving, predates American Thanksgiving. Actually, it predates America by about 200 years. And yes, we've covered this before, but, it's about high time we covered it again. Okay, so where did Thanksgiving come from? Short answer, Henry VIII. Surprising, right? Yep, when Henry VIII couldn't get an annulment from the Pope on his first marriage, he separated England from the Catholic Church in the 1530s, bringing about the English Reformation. And one of the issues that they had to deal with was holidays. See, Catholicism up until 1536 had 95 holidays, or holy days for those that haven't put that one together quite yet. And through reforms, this was whittled down to 27, but they created what were known as days of fasting, also known as days of humiliation, and days of Thanksgiving. Days of fasting took place after floods or military defeats, and days of Thanksgiving were for plentiful harvests or military victories. In fact, November 5th was a National Thanksgiving Day from 1606 until the 1800s, celebrating the fact that James I had survived the failed gunpowder plot. And of course, it ended up becoming Guy Fawkes Day, or night, or whatever. Keep in mind, these holy days were meant to primarily be spent at church, either seeking atonement on a day of fasting or praising and thanking God on a day of Thanksgiving. Anyway, North America's first Thanksgiving, outside of similar type celebrations by the Spanish, supposedly took place in Frobisher Bay in 1578 and was held to thank God for their safe passage across the ocean. See, the voyage was led by Martin Frobisher, who came to the New World in order to establish a colony. But they met issues along the way with strong storms and ice, separating the ships in the process, and it was in Frobisher Bay that they came back together, and hence the celebration of thanks. In 1604, a group of colonists arrived with the father of New France and lake namer extraordinaire Samuel de Champlain, and they began holding feasts of thanks, though the feasts were celebrated when the time to celebrate was at hand rather than a previously established day each year. Champlain also helped create the Order of Good Cheer, who put on feasts and plays with both French colonists and local indigenous people. So Thanksgiving wasn't a yearly holiday until 1879. Before then, it was held from time to time. Some years it was celebrated more than once, some years none at all. There was Thanksgiving held for the end of the French and Indian War, another for the end of the War of 1812. One was held in 1838 after the end of the Lower Canada Rebellion, and after Upper and Lower Canada united to form a single entity. They only held Thanksgiving 6 times in the 15 years between 1850 and 1865. And the date kept changing after 1879. It started as a Thursday in November, pretty much keeping with the American version, but after the end of the First World War, it was merged with Armistice Day and celebrated on the Monday of the week of November 11th. The two holidays were split apart in 1931, and it wasn't until 1957 that the current day used, the second Monday of October, was established as Thanksgiving Day, and this was done by a proclamation from Governor General of Canada, Vincent Massey. So how is Canadian Thanksgiving celebrated? Well, pretty much the same way as the American version that comes from pilgrims and all that. By the way, we did a whole video on the pilgrims if you're interested. And after the American Revolution, quite a few loyalists moved north of the border and brought with them their Thanksgiving cuisine. Turkey, dressing, corn, mashed potatoes, ham, squash, pie. Well, squash and pie, not actual squash. Well, technically, pumpkins are a squash, so yeah, screw it, squash pie. Pretty much the same basic foods eaten in the US, though there are some regional variations like butter tarts or salmon or Jiggs dinner, which is basically what Americans would call roast, or Nanaimo bars. Here in the US, we celebrate Thanksgiving on the 4th Thursday in November, but in Canada, it's the second Monday of October, though the feast is typically celebrated on Sunday, but any day of that week or weekend can be used. What we do have in common more than anything else is football. In America, the Cowboys and Lions always play home games on Thanksgiving, and in Canada, the Canadian Football League puts on a doubleheader known as the Thanksgiving Day Classic, which is one of 2 times a year that they play football on a Monday. The other is on Labor Day, by the way. Thanksgiving is also bigger in America. Not to say Canadians don't love Thanksgiving, but in America, it's the second biggest holiday holiday behind Christmas. Don't worry, Halloween's gaining, and it's considered odd by many if you don't celebrate it. So there may be differences, but both versions of Thanksgiving are meant to give thanks and bring people together, and what's better to celebrate than that? Plus there's food, a literal crap ton of food.